Good afternoon, this is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical Productions. Today we are going to tackle a subject that has been argued for thousands of years, and it is that everyone should have a day of rest from work, whatever that is. In the Old Testament in Exodus chapter 31, verses 14 through 15, it says, "You shall keep the Sabbath or be put to death." I don't think anyone follows that today. So how do we keep the spirit of that idea of having a day of rest, pleasing God, and making sense in today's complicated and busy world? We have a panel with us today to wrestle with this topic. We have Reverend Palfrey Rigamortis, who is a Sunday school Bible teacher. We have Miss Lucy Goosey, and the well-known biblical historian from the Church of the Open Window, Mary Beth Violet. Welcome to J&S, everybody.
Glad to be here.
So I'd like to begin this discussion with an assumption that we need to define what is taking a day of rest from work. The Jewish people call it a Sabbath. This is for us now and to please God, who inspired the biblical writings of the ages to lay down some basic rules for living every day to keep in good standing with the Lord. Let's go first with you, Reverend Rigamortis.
Thank you. Well, Exodus 31:14, as you stated earlier, it says exactly what it says. It doesn't give any exceptions. It says, on the seventh day, or the Sabbath, I sit in a chair, I face the window or the wall, and I read Psalms. I don't answer the phone, I don't answer the doorbell, I don't watch TV because it runs on electricity, and I don't even drive my car.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, your example comes from the Middle Ages or earlier. I don't know of anyone so rigid in the 21st century who's even like that. I mean, your interpretation of a day of rest comes from the Stone Age. I mean, I go dancing on my day off, I drive my car, I do oil paintings, I watch Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston movies, which, by the way, I watched my movies with the electricity turned on, and they didn't have electricity when they wrote the Bible. So there.
What do you have to say about that, Reverend Mortis?
Well, I would say, Lucy, that you are an irreligious fool.
Oh, I don't
God
think
will
so.
strike you down.
No, he won't.
He will. And the law
No.
of God is written for you to obey. You should probably read this Bible, I would say, cover to cover. That's why it's written down. The Bible doesn't give exceptions for belly dancing, TV, or whatever other finger painting nonsense you're into.
Okay.
I need to step in here. We have to take necessary business on the Sabbath day, such as saving someone from a burning car or house, or taking someone to the hospital or the doctor, or saving someone who's drowning in a swimming pool. What do you have to say about that, Reverend Rigamortis?
Yeah, what do you got to say?
I say all of that is blasphemy, and it's definitely irreligious. I wouldn't do any of those things. Saving someone from a burning car, a hospital, or drowning, they shouldn't be doing anything anyway. But me, personally, I wouldn't do any of that stuff. Let them burn. They're going to have to drown. It's God's will. Or at the very least, they can walk themselves to the hospital. It's a day of rest. And that's what we need to do. Rest. Avoid the world around you. I hate to say this, but let the other guys burn. Let them drown. It's none of my business. It's my day of rest.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're getting off track here. We live in the 21st century and not the first century, so let's take the definition of a work day here. So the definition of a workday says a physical or a mental effort or activity directed towards the production or the accomplishment of something.
Well, again, I'm going to have to say it because you guys aren't listening. Sitting still is the only legitimate answer for what you should do on your day off.
Well, I mean, what if I light a fire under your chair? Do you sit there and burn because your day off? It's your day off? Like a frog who boils in a pot of water. When the water starts to boil, he's too dumb to leap out.
There has to be a sensible way of pleasing God and not being ridiculous.
I agree. I mean, let's be ridiculous. We need to take Harry. You know, Harry, we got to get him in his chair, and we got to tie him to it, and set his Bible on fire, and we're going to throw him with the chair and all into the Colorado River, and then let's see what he does to please God.
Ladies, let's keep the Sabbath to mean taking a day of rest to focus on God. Now, neither setting a fire to poor Harry tied to his chair with his Bible, or watching Brad Pitt or Jennifer Aniston with the lights turned off, neither one of these are going to please God.
I agree. Then taking a day of rest and focusing on God, only one day of 7, is only what God expects, right? So we should make every day a Sabbath day to focus on God.
All right. So let's conclude by watching what happened when Jesus healed a woman with arthritis in the 1st century and what everyone thought of that. This is in Luke chapter 13, verses 10 through 17. This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical Productions saying what we learn is from this real story. Good afternoon.
On a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward, and he said to her,
"Woman,
Yes?
you are set free from your infirmity."
and then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God.
Oh, God, had mercy on me. He healed me.
Indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue ruler said to the people,
"There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath."
You hypocrites! Doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox and your donkey and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan has bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?
And when he said this, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted with all the wonderful things he was doing.
What are your thoughts on today's story? We'd like to know. So, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel, J&S Authentic Biblical Productions. Whether it's the Word of God through parables, true stories illustrating parables, or true stories in the life of Jesus Christ with commentary, you can see them all by subscribing to the most comprehensive collection of videos of biblical stories for you and your family. Have a blessed day.